Hi everyone, it's Mr. Austin here, and in today's video we're going to be learning all about how to play with proper fingering 5 finger patterns in major. You'll need to do this for Piano Quarterly this quarter, and you'll have to be able to play 5 finger patterns major, hands together, up and down, with quarter note equals 60, moderate tempo, with proper fingering. So let's get things started. First, we need to talk a little bit about whole steps and half steps. We should know that a half step is the smallest interval in our tonal system. So I just threw out a vocabulary word called interval. The interval is the distance or relationship between two pitches or two tones. And half steps are the distance from one piano key to the next adjacent key. So what I'll do is simply take my marker, and if I look at this C right here, and I look at the adjacent key, the key that it's right next to, I have a C sharp. That, my friends, is a half step. Another word for a half step is a semitone. You're going to want to remember that, semitone, half step. Okay, if you look over here from the E to the F, you realize that that is too a semitone because there is no black key in between it. The E and the F are adjacent to one another. That is, they are next to one another. So that is a half step. So really, not all semitones or half steps go from a white key to a black key. When you have a case like the E to the F, that's 2 white keys as a half step. And same here, when you have a B to a C, that is also a half step. I can examine further if I want, and I could, let's say, go from this F to this G and realize that that is a whole step because there is a black key in between it. So when we talk about whole steps, a whole step is the same distance as 2 half steps. So 2 half steps equals 1 whole step, and that's worth remembering. Quick review on piano fingering. This is really important. Notice that both thumbs are going to be using our first finger, and our index finger on both hands is the piano fingering. It's our second finger. And then our middle finger is on both hands, our third finger for piano. And our ring finger on both hands is our fourth finger. And then finally, we have our fifth finger, which is our pinky on both hands for the piano fingering. Very important to know, especially when it comes to our 5-finger patterns. Now, there is a pattern of whole steps and half steps that we need to memorize. And if we can memorize this pattern, then we will have no trouble whatsoever playing any, I repeat, any 5 major finger pattern on the piano. And so the intervals are whole step, half step, whole step. So if we take a C major 5-finger pattern, and we're going to start out on C, we need to go up a whole step to D. Then if from D, we need to travel up a whole step, and we'll land on E. Now we need a half step. A half step above E is F, and a whole step above F is G. That is the formula for a major 5-finger pattern. Whole, whole, half, whole. Perhaps it's easier if I demonstrate it with a piano visual. So right here, I've got a piano, and let me start from a C. I'll just pick this C right here, and I'm going to go whole, whole, half, whole. So the notes in my 5-finger pattern for C major would be C, D, E, F, there's my half step, right? and then G. And my fingering is exactly as you see it here. I've numbered it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So literally you're going up with your 5 fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and coming back down. And I have a video that I'll show you in just a minute so you can actually see somebody performing this 5 major finger pattern. Now, let's go with our left hand. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find our C to D, and that's a whole step. Then we have D to E, which is a whole step. And then we're going to have E to F, which is our, remember the formula? That's where our half step goes. And then we end on a whole step. Now I know what you're thinking. Mr. Austin, why do I have whole, whole, half, whole? That's only 4 notes, but I have a 5 finger pattern. Well, remember, an interval is the distance between 2 notes. So that's why we have 5 notes and only 4 intervals. And the notes here in the left hand would be the same as our right hand if we're playing this 5 major finger pattern, starting on C. There's my half step, E to F, and then here's my G. The only difference is in the fingering. While your right hand going up is playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your left hand is playing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'll just draw this in so you can see it right on the actual keys itself. That is the fingering for every 5 major finger pattern, okay? The only difference lies in the fact that if I want you to play a G major finger pattern, then your first note would be G. Then you'd have to figure out the formula from G, the whole, whole, half, whole. So what I'm going to show you now can be found in our Google Classroom. Here's our classroom. Go to Classwork, scroll on down to Piano Skills, and you will see a piano fingering chart, which is wonderful. Just if you need a quick reminder about your numbering and your fingers. Notice that both thumbs are 1, both index fingers are 2, middle fingers 3, ring fingers 4, and pinkies are 5. So there's that there for you. And there's also this 5 finger patterns for major and minor, which I'm going to open. And here we have major on the left and minor on the right. We're not going to worry about minor right now, but we're going to look at major because you're going to need to prepare and play from memory the C major, D major, E major, F major, G major, and A major 5 finger pattern up and down. Okay, so these are the notes for both the right hand and the left hand. Remember that the difference just lies in the fingering. So now if you look here, we did the C one together. Now, if I'm going to play a D major finger pattern, I'm going to want to start on a D. And you can see here that if you look carefully, we have a whole step from D to E, a whole step from E up to F sharp. Then there's our half step, F sharp to G. And then we end with our whole step, G to A. Whole, whole, half, whole. And you can even examine further and look at the E major, starting on an E and going whole, whole, half, whole. And F major, whole, whole, half, whole. G major, which is probably the most similar to C major because if you look carefully, it uses all white keys. There's no black key like C major. So if I start on a G, I'm going whole, whole, half, whole, and then A major, whole, whole, half, whole. So like I said before, you can learn to play any single 5 major finger pattern, even more that aren't even listed here. You know, A flat, B flat, E flat, you know, all different ones, G sharp, things like that. If you remember the whole, whole, half, whole formula, you will not go wrong. So I just wanted to show you that this you can access from our Google Classroom. Okay, and there's a whole bunch of other things here as well for you to check out for your piano skills and to improve upon them. So now let's go back over to here, and I want to share with you a video of somebody performing a 5 major finger pattern or 2. So check this out.
Okay, this is your 5-finger pattern. In this quick video, I will show you what the correct technique is to play the 5-finger pattern. To begin, you want to make sure your fingers are curved, so it looks like you are holding an apple. So pretend like you're holding an apple. That's how your fingers should be shaped while on the keys. So put your hands in C position, which means both hands are starting on C. Now I'm only going to play on the tips of my fingers. My fingers should not ever look like this, or this, or this. As far as posture, I'm sitting on the edge of my bench. My feet, if I can reach the floor, my feet are flat on the floor, but they are never crossed or straight up against the piano. Okay, as you play each note, you want to have a tiny wrist bounce, so I'll show you in the right hand. You can also think of it as mini circles.
So I'm going to pause the video for just 1 second, and you can see that when she played with the right hand, she played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And when she played with the left hand, she played 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even though she's played the same notes.
Every new 5-finger pattern you get, you want to practice it at a slow pace with the wrist bounce or wrist circle. And then when you speed it up, it should still have the wrist bounce, but with a smaller effect.
Whole step, half step, whole step.
The reason we need to bounce our wrist is because when you play the keys, you really want to shoot your finger down into the key so that we get the full resonation coming from the piano. If we just play like this, we are too dependent on the strength of our fingers. Using our wrist allows us to use our wrist, our arm, our whole hand, which will then give us good technique for all the songs that we play. So I'll show you the whole pattern for 5-finger pattern. You're going to go up the scale, down, and then play a chord. When you're practicing, you can do right hand, left hand, and then together. But when you send me videos of you playing or when you're practicing, you can do hands together like this.
And you don't need to do the chord at the end, but if you want to, I'll certainly take it.
And then you would move to the next 5-finger pattern.
So that's a little bit of 5-finger patterns. And what I want you to do is go back to the Google Classroom, and I want you to take a look at this page that I showed you earlier, and I want you to, if you can, print it out. If you can't, just look at it from your computer screen and get your roll-up piano or your keyboard that you have out at home and practice the major ones only over here, major. Minor is for later on this year. You know, if you're advanced, you might want to take a look at that now. That'd be fine. But we need to learn all of these major 5-finger patterns that you see here, C, D, E, F, G, and A. And if you remember that formula, whole step, half step, whole step, whole, half whole, you can start from any note and play the 5 major finger pattern. I hope this video helps. Happy piano practicing, my theorists. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.